welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. We're coming to you live from the Empire Fintech Conference in New York City. Joining us for this segment, we have Trisha Kothari. She's a co-founder and CEO of Unit 21. We're going to discuss the challenges with fraud, compliance, and being regulated in the fintech space. Trisha, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to TradeTalks.
Thank you for having me.
Fraud, if anything, has grown tremendously in the past 5 years. Tell us what you're seeing.
Yeah, fraud is an extremely lucrative business, and so we're seeing fraud really proliferate a lot. With the entire fintech industry, we've seen it grow significantly because the fraudster can be in another part of the world and can buy stolen identities, fake identities, fabricate identities, and then create accounts and steal money from institutions. So it's been a way that fraudsters have really understood how the fintech ecosystem has evolved. And in fact, in the last 4 years, fraud has now become an $8+ billion problem for US consumers, and for global businesses and consumers is over $45 billion expected this year. So it's going to be continuously growing, and the biggest problem is that you're dealing with this fraudster who's a very creative individual or group of individuals, very quick and very well coordinated, and companies are not equipped to handle that.
How has crypto aided in the rise of this fraud, and why are regulators behind the 8 ball with this?
Yeah, crypto is really interesting. It's less of the technology of crypto, but more of the ability for money to immediately be moved off and then no way to recall it. So there is a lot of great consumer protection for ACH transfers or for credit cards. So if you see a transaction on your Chase statement, then you can dispute it. But for crypto, there isn't that degree of consumer protection. And because there's not that degree of consumer protection, and once the money's out, fraud becomes a really big problem for consumers. And so we're actually seeing a lot of scams that are perpetuated through crypto. We did a report last year on romance scams, and a third of romance scams touch crypto one way or the other.
You know what? I think part of the challenge is, especially when we think about the underlying technology, being able to transfer money peer-to-peer, or certainly quicker than traditional banking systems. It sounds great, but then to your point earlier, once it's out, it's out. So how are teams thinking about being compliant real time and rethinking their compliance software workflows?
Yeah, it's really important that companies, there are really 2 ways for companies to think about this now. They can say, okay, I'm going to shut down financial innovation and shut down crypto and shut down real-time payments because it's leading to a lot of fraud and regulatory risk. And I think that approach is the worst approach for consumers. And we've actually seen this a lot with Zelle scams as an example, where a lot of the smaller banks and community banks, credit unions, they just do not want to take on that risk and are saying that, okay, let's not offer Zelle as an offering for consumers, which ultimately hurts the standard person. So the better approach that a lot of companies are taking is investing in their risk and compliance practices and using a much more data-driven approach to see that, okay, we have this creative fraudster on the other side. What can we use to really leverage data and continuously train our teams to adapt in this world of adapting fraud?
So where does Unit 21 fit in the ecosystem?
Where Unit 21 sits is today the way that companies think about fraud is they say that, okay, I have this particular fraud problem with crypto, and what can I do? And what we say is look beyond the transaction. So can we look at the login patterns of this user? Can we look at the device of this user? Can we look at, have they changed their password? Have they added an admin to the account? And things like that is really where we're trying to get all of the data of the consumer and determine on a holistic basis, is there any bad activity, instead of just looking at the transaction.
All right, Trisha, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.